tonight.
Conservative leader Andrew Scheer says chocolate milk saved his son's life and hopes it can do the same for his campaign.
Britain elects a new prime minister to steer them directly into the rocks.
And Robert Mueller's congressional testimony is tomorrow, leading everyone to ask the same thing. What's he gonna wear?
All that and more on the Beaverton. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Miguel Rivas.
I'm Emma Hunter, and welcome to Season 3 of the Beaverton, baby.
We are here for you, Canada, and we've got a lot to get to. So without further ado, here is tonight's top story. Trump's America, where every week feels like 1,000 years. And each year contains 1 million indignities. As is the case with so many of these things south of the border, the latest incident began on Twitter. Trump insinuated that 4 congresswomen of color should go back to where they came from, making it the first time he's ever suggested sending competent people overseas.
Honestly, I can't believe in 2019 the President of the United States is still tweeting racist things.
Yeah.
He should be posting them on Instagram. From there, it was rally time, where Trump stood for a full 13 seconds as his enlightened fan base chanted, "Send her back." Now, Trump tried to distance himself from it the next day, but that's like Oasis disavowing Wonderwall. You created that monster, and you're responsible when a bunch of mouth breathers start yelling it in public.
If you can believe it, Trump's principled stance lasted a solid 24 hours. The next day, he called the chanters incredible patriots and paid tribute to their valuable contributions to America's racist chant-based economy.
All this back and forth and doubling down. Will the syphilitic infection destroying Trump's brain just make up its mind already?
Over the weekend, Representatives Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell made the rounds defending Trump's comments. Because if anyone gets to decide what is or isn't racist, it's 2 old white men from the South.
Of course, if Republicans really wanted to get out in front of this, they should have sent out the many women of color who make up the backbone of the GOP.
But other political leaders pushed back in the strongest way they know how, by grabbing a thesaurus to find a word to condemn Trump's racism without actually calling it racism. South of the border, famous loser Mitt Romney released a statement calling the tweets disunifying, a word that our spell check simply does not recognize. Across the pond, Boris Johnson spent a whole night racking his simple, doughy mind for a word strong enough to describe his feelings, eventually settling on blimey.
Meanwhile, in Canada, Justin Trudeau took a different tack when asked how he felt about the tweets.
I think Canadians and indeed people around the world know exactly what I think about those particular comments.
What an impassioned plea, both for equality and for people to please stop asking him to say negative things about Canada's biggest trading partner. He later strengthened his condemnation, calling the comments hurtful, wrong, and totally not 2015.
But the question is this: why not just call it racism? Is it because these politicians are sidestepping cowards? Or is it because Trump's comments may have been taken out of context? It's the first one.
Meanwhile, the media rushed to paint Trump's xenophobic tirades as the work of a master strategist. At this point, if Trump slipped on a banana peel and fell face first into a custard pie, the media would say, "Oh, that cunning fox. Your move, Democrats."
Of course, Trump's position in all of this is that no one who criticizes America could truly love it and should leave, which is rich coming from a man whose 2016 campaign slogan was, "America currently sucks."
Of course, just like Fox News, not all of the stories on our show are real. For a roundup of some news we've adjusted for your viewing pleasure, here's the Counterfeit News. On Monday, a new Air Passenger Bill of Rights came into effect. The bill will force airlines to compensate passengers for flight disruptions, inform them of delays, and basically treat them like human beings. And airlines are effing peed. Showing their usual dedication to customer service, airlines have drafted a list of airline rights designed to assert their dominance over customers.
Oh, fun.
Oh, yeah. Starting immediately, all washrooms will be coin-operated. So bring plenty of change and have fun in security. And while they'll reimburse you for flight disruptions, get ready for a bumpy ride because airlines will now encourage pilots to do stunts, which could lead to a sudden loss of cabin pressure. And that's when things get silly because every 10th oxygen mask will now contain helium.
This week marks the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing. It was the culmination of years of tension between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, making the moon landing the most expensive dick measuring contest since the pyramids.
But now that we've put 50 years between us and Apollo 11, it's finally time to admit something we've known in our hearts for decades. The moon sucks.
No amount of pro-moon Cold War propaganda can hide the fact that the moon is trash.
It's trash, baby.
It is cold, it is empty, and it is covered in unsightly craters.
The moon is basically Orlando, Florida, without Disney World. That's pointless.
And if you think all this sounds unfair, remember Neil Armstrong's most famous quote, "I hate the moon."
So take the hint, NASA. When the Mars mission comes around, save us a bunch of time and money and just fake it.
Later tonight, by leading the Raptors to an NBA championship, Kawhi Leonard made Canadians believe there may be a God, only to sign with the Clippers, conclusively proving there is not.
You okay, buddy?
Welcome back. For anyone who saw the trailer for Cats and thought, I wish there were more cats crammed on the screen, the American Democratic primaries just may be for you.
It's still unclear which candidate will secure the nomination, but they're falling all over each other to score points with the diverse groups that make up the Democrats' base. Kamala Harris has emerged as a frontrunner. Could the key to her success be the African-American vote? Here to talk about it is Beaverton writer and Democratic primaries enthusiast, Brandon Hackett.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Kamala Harris is an inspirational figure, but she's also problematic. I love that she's a strong black woman, but I hate that she made almost all of her money sending people to private prisons. The black community deserves a true advocate.
Thank you, Brandon. Pete Buttigieg, an openly gay candidate, could have some strong support from the LGBTQ community. Here to talk about it live via satellite is queer rights advocate. Oh, it's Brandon Hackett again.
Thanks for having me back.
I guess the network couldn't splurge on bringing in a different pundit for the take on Buttigieg.
That's okay. I contain multitudes. Now, yes, Pete Buttigieg is gay, but to me, he's like if, for Pride, TD Bank created a person. I'm pretty sure he was brainstormed in a boardroom after extensive market research on LGBTQ voting habits.
Thank you, Brandon. Now, Elizabeth Warren is emerging as a strong candidate who
Here to talk about Elizabeth Warren is me.
What? How?
Well, Emma, Elizabeth Warren's plan to cancel all student debt and make it free to go to any public college appeals to another demographic of which I am a part, students.
You're a student?
I was, and I have the crippling debt and ill-fitting sweatshirt to prove it. Senator Warren's plan could help people like me finally be able to save enough money to still barely be able to afford rent.
You're Canadian. You won't benefit in any way from the American election, Brandon.
Ah, yes, but as someone working in Canadian showbiz, I hope to one day become an American citizen.
Yeah, but you're not yet, which makes your enthusiasm for the Democratic primaries seem a little fruitless.
Okay, you think I don't know that? I can't help it. Because I, like every other sane person on the planet, am praying the Democrats pick someone, anyone who can beat Trump.
Okay, great. Well, we are moving on to Cory Booker. But we're going to go to the audience for this one, so...
Hey there, Brendan Hackett, fan of the show.
How did you get there so fast?
I ran.
What demographic could you possibly represent for Cory Booker?
The one who's sick of being put in the key demographic box. Look, whether it's Cory Booker, Ban Guy Beto, or any of the other 1,500 Democrats running, focusing on how they're playing with small groups is just another way to reduce politics to a cynical horse race.
Okay, well, that is an interesting point. Now, who do you think is actually going to win the nomination?
Oh! Probably Joe Biden. Nobody likes him but old hands. He will run the Rust Belt on name recognition alone.
Now that sounds cynical.
Welcome to the 2020 Democratic primaries.
Brandon Hackett, everyone. Thank you, Brandon.
Moving on to one of these summer's biggest stories, and by biggest, I mean worst and most upsetting. And I hear what you're saying. Emma, that could be any major news story. But in this case, I'm talking specifically about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, by now we've all heard of the disturbing case of the billionaire sex offender and owner of the world's most punchable face. His arrest may be new information, but the circumstances are not.
In 2008, despite evidence he ran a sex trafficking ring involving dozens of underage girls, Epstein pleaded guilty to only 2 counts of solicitation. The sweetheart deal was brokered by Alex Acosta, Trump's former labor secretary and escaped Area 51 specimen.
But believe it or not, there may be one good thing to come out of all of this: the return of bipartisanship. They say it's dead, but in this political climate, it's nice to see Republicans and Democrats come together to flee from this scandal as fast as they can. First, there was Donald Trump. In 2002, he thought pretty highly of Epstein. In a New York Magazine interview, he called him a terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
Barf City. Population, that quote.
Yeah, it seems like Trump and Epstein had a lot in common. But 2 weeks ago, the president had this to say.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
So the last time you hung out with Epstein was the exact moment he was trafficking minors? That's cool. I guess you're off the hook, big guy.
To be fair, Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after he was listed as a sex offender. But continuing to be fair, Trump was also accused by a 13-year-old of assaulting her at one of Epstein's parties.
Ah, remember when you could be impeached for just busting into a hotel and stealing some office supplies?
Speaking of presidents who were impeached, Epstein also has connections to noted feminist icon and advocate for young women everywhere, Bill Clinton. Clinton recently released a statement distancing himself from Epstein, despite flight records indicating he took 26 trips on the billionaire's private jet. Mind you, if you're Bill Clinton, a flight on a billionaire's private jet is like a regular person watching a Marvel movie. Who can possibly remember them all?
Oh, man. Just imagine the look Hillary Clinton is shooting Bill across the dinner table right now, assuming she's agreed to eat a meal with him for the first time in like 30 years. I bet it's probably like, really?
Hot tip for current, former, and non-presidents among us: if an obscenely wealthy person invites you onto their private jet, just assume you'll be implicated in a pedophilia scandal.
This goes for the liberals and conservatives alike who appeared in Epstein's Little Black Book. Conrad Black, Ted Kennedy, a bunch of like the lesser Kennedys.
Hey, fun fact, a grouping of Kennedys is also known as a felony.
Okay. Epstein's social circle really is a who's who of oh no.
It's almost like there's a secret cabal of rich men who run the world and think they're above the law.
Still, you gotta figure the next Illuminati meeting is going to be pretty tense.
Yeah, not just because this story proved what we all kind of knew anyway. At a certain level of wealth, political affiliations mean less than how much money you stashed in your offshore accounts.
It's like I've always said, the world would be much more bipartisan if we were all billionaires.
Sure.
I've said that.
But if there's anything about the story that gives me hope, it's that no matter how rich or politically connected you are, justice will come for you. Eventually, give or take 15 years.
When we return, more on Bill Clinton, who has decided to go vegan, not for moral reasons, but to stave off how quickly he's going to hell. So that's a plan.
He's going anyway.
Welcome back. Thank you. When millions of Ontarians received an Amber Alert for 2 missing boys, they responded the only way they knew how, by just losing it on 911 operators for interrupting Love Island. In response to the overwhelming backlash, the OPP is revising its approach to Amber Alerts in order to keep the focus on the real victims, the people receiving Amber Alerts. Starting immediately, people who are outraged to have been inconvenienced by the news of an endangered child will be patched into a call with a trained professional who will reaffirm that their selfish views are A-OK. If this fails to appease Canadians, the OPP will resort to Plan B, asking kidnappers to commit all abductions during regular 9 to 5 work hours. It'll be easier.
Moving on to climate change. According to many Canadians, it's the most important issue in the upcoming election. As a result, support for the Green Party has soared, sending their poll numbers up to a stunning 11%.
Being the only party with any kind of plan to confront the eradication of life has been a major boon for the Greens, who are seeing Canadians join in what are technically record numbers. We're talking tens of hundreds of people. That's a busy night at the keg.
Canadians who have jumped on the green wave are excited to gloat about voting green, all the way up to the election when they will inevitably vote for the Liberals. Still, the Greens are excited to have made major progress this year. If this trend continues, they could be in position to form government by the time Vancouver is underwater and marauding motorcycle gangs rule the prairies.
On to slightly cheerier matters. If you're like me, there's nothing better than watching a feel-good TV show about love, friendship, and the human spirit. Yes, I'm talking about HBO's summer hit, Chernobyl. The show, which examines the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster, has been a huge success. It's won major acclaim for accurately portraying Cold War-era Ukraine, right down to the British accents. But the show also made me realize something important, and it's the subject of a new segment we call Let Me Explain. Okay, here it is. Chernobyl is the solution to climate change.
What are you talking about?
87% of the world's electricity is from fossil fuels, and by my math, that is not great.
No.
But there is a solution, and it's the same thing that melted all those dudes in the first episode of Chernobyl: nuclear energy. Let me explain. What's worse, a Chernobyl every 30 years or a global climate disaster all day, every day? Now, I can see the looks of disgust on some of your faces, but let me explain. What do France and Sweden have in common, besides Miguel being banned from both countries?
Honestly, it was worth it. It was the best vacation I ever had.
They both have some of the lowest carbon emissions in the game, all thanks to nuclear power. Same goes for Belgium, Slovakia, Hungary, and you guessed it, Ukraine.
Oh, wait, really? Even after Chernobyl?
Sure. All you have to do is put the nuclear plants in places no one likes. Why do you think Ontario built their plant in Pickering? Ooh. And that's not the only advantage to nuclear meltdowns.
What?
Let me explain! Nuclear meltdowns can even reverse humanity's negative impact on the environment. How? By making large swaths of the world completely inhospitable to humans.
You are not making a strong case that nuclear power is going to make things better.
I never said it was good. I'm just saying it's less bad. And at this point, that's the best we can hope for. Climate change, 2 thumbs down. Nuclear meltdowns, 3 deformed claws up.
Coming up next, Justin Trudeau has joined the viral Face App trend and shared an image of what he'll look like when he's old.
Once in a magical while, a story emerges from the relentless, soul-numbing bedlam of the 24-hour news cycle that can't help but catch our eye.
A story so audacious or just plain dumb that we honestly can't believe we didn't make it up. Those stories live here in a new segment we call Not the Beaverton. Have you ever taken a bite of a crisp, garden-fresh carrot and thought, it's pretty good, but I wish it was more yielding and flesh-like? Of course not, because you're not a serial killer.
But that hasn't stopped Arby's, home of North America's wettest food, from creating its latest culinary delicacy, a carrot made out of meat.
Yes, it's called a merit. It's made with turkey, and I just want to reiterate, we are not making this up.
This is pretty clearly a middle finger aimed at the rising popularity of plant-based meat alternatives like Beyond Meat. Not to mention a huge slap in the face to the turkeys who gave their lives to become a joke food.
And the merit is just the first meat vegetable, or vegetable, to be introduced. A sentence that should be as upsetting for you to hear as it was for me to say.
They should whip up some meat fruit while they're at it. I mean, really, Miguel, what is a ham if not a shiny pork watermelon?
Hey, why stop at food? They could start a loyalty program that allows customers to pay with Arby's own Meat Bucks, the first and only currency that had parents.
Honestly, Arby's, if you really want to flip the bird to healthy and sustainable eating, you don't need all this mad science stuff. You just need to keep being your good old diarrhea factory self we know and love.
Unfortunately, our time, like an unrefrigerated merit, has expired.
Next week on the Beaverton, now that the weather is getting nicer, the U.S. and China have decided to have their trade war outside.
We'll see you then. Thank you.
Yeah, love that.